Your heating system is going to die. You know it. The manufacturer knew it when they built it. The average forced air furnace lasts 18 to 22 years, costs $600 to $2,400 a year to run, and then you pay $6,000 to $12,000 to replace it and start the whole cycle over again. That is the deal you accepted. That is the system you are inside. There is a heater sitting in a farmhouse in Vermont that was built in 1981. It has never been repaired. It costs less than $700 a year to fuel. It has no moving parts, no electricity requirement, no annual service contract, and no fuel line. And based on the documented lifespan of the technology it is built from, it will still be heating that house in 2081. This technology is over 1,000 years old. Nothing built since performs better. In 1988, a single regulatory change written during the decade, the HVAC industry's annual revenue crossed $10 billion for the first time, effectively erased it from every new home specification sheet in America. That is not an accident. That is a business model. In this video, we're going to show you exactly what a masonry heater is, how it works, why it disappeared, and what the people who are still building them are paying to heat the same size house you live in. Starts with the Romans, and it was already working perfectly 2,000 years ago. The Romans had a heating problem. They were building an empire in a climate that froze. Stone villas in Britain, Germany, and northern France needed to stay warm through winters that killed livestock and soldiers. And they solved it. Not with a furnace, not with a boiler, with mass. They built hollow floors. A furnace in the basement pushed hot air through a network of clay tile columns under the floor and up through channels in the walls. The stone and tile absorbed that heat. And for the next 12 to 18 hours, the floor and walls radiated warmth back into the room at a slow, even, constant temperature. Long after the fire had gone cold, they called it a hypocaust. We have the archaeological evidence of it operating under Roman villas in Britain as early as 100 BC. The floor tiles at Fishbourne Roman Palace still show the heat staining from 2,000 years of operation. Then, the empire fell, and the knowledge went with it. For the next 1,000 years, Europeans heated their homes with open fires in the middle of rooms or against walls. The vast majority of the heat went straight up through the hole in the roof. It was wasteful, smoky, and dangerous. But in Russia and Scandinavia, something different was happening. By the 15th century, Russian builders had developed the pechka, a massive masonry oven and heater built from brick and clay that dominated the central room of every farmhouse across the country. You fired it for 2 hours in the morning, you fired it again in the evening, and it heated the house for the remaining 18 to 20 hours entirely on its own. No fuel, no fire, just stored heat slowly releasing itself into the room. A Finnish variant built from soapstone, which holds and releases heat even more efficiently than brick, spread across Scandinavia over the next several centuries. By the 1800s, these heaters were standard in Finland, Sweden, Germany, and Austria. They were documented, refined, and systematically improved over 500 years of practical use. This technology had already been optimized by the time your great-grandmother was born. So why, in 2024, are we paying $1,400 to $2,800 a year for a system that was invented after the Second World War, needs annual maintenance, and dies before your mortgage is paid off? Here's the simplest way to understand a masonry heater. Your furnace is like a tap. You turn it on, heat comes out. You turn it off, the heat stops. You need it running constantly to maintain temperature. A masonry heater is a battery. You charge it once. It discharges over the next 18 to 24 hours, slowly and evenly, without you doing anything. The mechanism is thermal mass. Dense materials, brick, soapstone, tile, and concrete absorb enormous amounts of heat when they are exposed to a very high temperature fire. Masonry heaters burn at 900 to 1,100 degrees Celsius. That is 2 to 3 times hotter than a conventional wood stove. At those temperatures, the combustion is almost complete. The wood burns clean. The smoke is minimal. The heat drives deep into the mass of the heater. Then the fire goes out, and the mass begins to give that heat back, slowly, steadily. At a surface temperature of 50 to 80 degrees Celsius, warm to the touch but not burning, it radiates heat into the room at a rate that nearly matches how a well-insulated room loses heat to the outside. This means a properly sized masonry heater does not overheat a room and does not underheat it. It just holds the temperature. The Masonry Heater Association of North America documents efficiency ratings of 80 to 92% for a correctly built system. A high-efficiency, forced air gas furnace runs at 80 to 98% efficiency, but that number refers to how efficiently it converts fuel to heat, not how effectively that heat stays in the room. Forced air heats the air, which stratifies, leaks through every gap in your home, and must be continuously reheated. Radiant heat from a masonry heater warms surfaces, walls, floors, furniture, and people, and that warmth stays. The numbers in real homes reflect this. A documented build in Vermont, a 1,500 square foot farmhouse with a brick masonry heater installed in 1981, used 1.5 cords of wood per winter season. At current firewood prices in New England, that is approximately $525 to $675 per year. The oil-fired forced air system it replaced was running $2,200 to $2,400 per year at equivalent fuel prices. That is a household saving of $1,500 to $1,800 per year, every year, for over 40 years. The heater has never needed a repair. The Finnish manufacturer Tuulikivi, which has been building soapstone masonry heaters since 1979 and now exports to over 40 countries, documents heat output and lifespan data on every unit they produce. Their standard residential heaters carry a 25-year structural warranty and a documented operational lifespan of 50 to 100 years. No moving parts, no electricity, no fuel line, no annual service contract, no replacement cycle. This is not a theory. This is documented in the heating records of 1/3 of Finnish homes. But the performance data is only half the story. The real question is why this technology, proven in Finland, proven in Vermont, proven in 2,000 years of Roman engineering, is not in every home in America. The answer involves 3 systems, none of which have your heating bill in mind. In 1988, the Environmental Protection Agency published Phase 1 of its new source performance standards for residential wood heaters. The intention was legitimate. Conventional wood stoves were producing dangerous levels of particulate matter, and urban air quality was suffering. The regulation required every new wood-burning appliance to meet specific emission limits. Here's what the regulation did not do. It did not ban masonry heaters. Masonry heaters, burning at 900 to 1,100 degrees Celsius, produce dramatically lower particulate emissions than conventional wood stoves. The agency knew this. They exempted masonry heaters from the initial regulation. But the regulation did something else. It established a regulatory framework, a definition of what a legal residential heating appliance looked like. It required certification testing. It required a product that could be manufactured, tested, listed, and installed by a licensed contractor. Masonry heaters are site-built, one-of-a-kind structures. They do not come from a factory. They cannot receive a UL listing. They could not be plugged into the new compliance framework. And that created the second barrier, insurance. By the early 1990s, standard homeowners insurance policies in most U.S. states required that heating appliances carry a recognized safety listing, UL, CSA, or similar. A masonry heater built by a mason on your property did not carry one of these listings because it was not a manufactured product, it was a building. Insurers who encountered them often required riders, exclusions, or refused coverage entirely. A single letter from a home insurer telling a buyer that their masonry heater was uninsurable was enough to kill a sale. The third barrier is the appraisal system. Under Fannie Mae mortgage guidelines, the guidelines that govern the majority of American home loans, a home heating system needs to be appraised as a functional component of the property. A standard gas furnace or heat pump has a clear market value, a standard replacement cost, and a recognized lifespan. An appraiser can assign it a number. A masonry heater built into a wall has no comparable sales data, no standardized replacement cost, and no industry-recognized lifespan figure in the appraisal manual. Most appraisers assigned it zero contributory value, which means a $15,000 masonry heater installation added nothing to your appraised home value. A $5,000 gas furnace did. When you cannot insure it, cannot get credit for it in your appraisal, and no contractor is trained or licensed to build it, the technology does not get built. No one issued a ban. The system just was not designed to accommodate anything that does not have a distributor, a warranty card, and an annual maintenance contract. And that is not an accident. The HVAC industry generates revenue from installation, from annual service contracts, from replacement parts, and from replacement units every 15 to 25 years. A masonry heater eliminates every one of those revenue streams permanently. There is no supply chain behind a masonry heater. No one profits when you build one. And the three barriers that stopped you from building one were all shaped, in part, by the industry that profits when you do not. No one wrote a memo that said kill the masonry heater. They simply built a system that was not designed to let it live. If you're building a new home or undertaking a major renovation, the full masonry heater is within reach. A professionally built brick or soapstone masonry heater for a 1,500 to 2,500 square foot home runs between $8,000 and $20,000, depending on size, materials, and the builder. That is a significant upfront cost. It is also a one-time cost. With a projected lifespan of 50 to 100 years and annual fuel costs of $450 to $900 in most U.S. climates, the system pays for itself within 4 to 7 years and then runs at a fraction of what you currently pay for the rest of your life in that house. The Masonry Heater Association of North America maintains a directory of certified heater masons and runs annual workshops where you can learn the principles of design and construction. Their website is maa-net.org, and it is the most comprehensive English language resource on the subject. The knowledge was never lost. It was just never marketed. For the majority of homeowners who are not about to gut a wall and pour a new foundation, there is an accessible version of this technology that you can build yourself. It is called a rocket mass heater. A rocket mass heater applies the same core principle: short, extremely hot burns that charge a thermal mass, which then radiates heat for many hours, in a form a non-professional can build with materials that cost between $300 and $1,000. The burn chamber uses an insulated J-shaped feed that creates a natural draft, eliminating the need for a chimney in many configurations. The exhaust runs through a horizontal mass bench, typically built from cob, before exiting through a small flue. That bench absorbs the heat from the exhaust gases that a conventional stove would waste entirely. It will not cut your heating bill by 70%. There's not a whole home heating solution for a 2,500 square foot house in Minnesota, but it can take the coldest room in your home, the one you keep closed off in winter, and make it the warmest room in the house for less than the cost of 1 month's heating bill. With materials available at any building supply store and skills you can learn from documented community builds that have been shared online for over 20 years. The masonry heater community in North America is small, active, and technically serious. The knowledge is out there. It's just not on the front page of any home improvement magazine. Home improvement magazines are paid for by the people who want to sell you a new furnace in 2042. So here's what this comes down to. A masonry heater burns 2 hours a day and heats your home for 18 hours. 1/3 of Finnish homes run on this principle right now. A farmhouse in Vermont has been running on it since 1981 without a single repair. The technology is 1,000 years old, and nothing built since performs better on efficiency, lifespan, or operating cost. There is no supply chain behind it. No one profits when you build one. No installer, no service contract, no replacement cycle, no manufacturer. That is not an accident. That is exactly why you have never seen it on the cover of a home improvement magazine. The people who understand this are already doing it. They are not prepping. They are not off-grid. They are paying $600 a year to heat a house that would cost you $2,000. They are just using a tool that the industry spent 30 years making sure you would never hear about. You do not have to pay $2,000 a year for heat. You never had to. You were just never told the alternative. A lot of what this channel covers was nearly lost, not because it stopped working, but because that the industry moved on to something more profitable. And if that is the kind of thing that matters to you, sharing this video is the simplest thing you can do to make sure it keeps being found. Next, we're going to look at a cooling technology with the exact same story. Invented before electricity existed, banned by a building code written in 1978, and still the most effective passive cooling system ever documented. That one is coming next.